We are live. This is the Kaizen Market Update. I am your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, stay with this channel. Turn on alerts or follow Discord, Bill Alerts, so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, hit the like button. Tell us about it in the economics chat. Any feedback, we appreciate. All right. Now, before I welcome who's here, let me just tell you the format straight up. We're going to do this a little bit more fireside chat style and a little bit more live TA style. We're going to be looking at levels kind of underneath the market. You know, crypto is kind of down only. There'll probably be a final puke and then a bounce before the event happens, excuse me. And of course, the question is, what's the event? And if there is an event, can anyone even talk about it on YouTube or Twitter, anywhere? So let's welcome who's here, and then I'll go into storytelling. So we have Keita Sira first on the stream. Welcome. Kane, Horace, today's Tech Bites. Lisa V, good morning. Corey, JJ Jones. It's his birthday today. So happy birthday to JJ J Jones 8. Leo, Clement, Zach, Brandon, Daniel plays paintball. Welcome. Tom, Felix, catching the show. ME, VA Buds, SGSG, and OG when we were doing this stream with 2 people live. OG. Okay. Let's talk. Now, the market's down only. No one knows why. D. Harris, welcome. The market is down only, and no one knows why. And what seems to bother me is that no one really seems to be asking, like, why is the market down every day? Why is there no sponsorship for the likes of Solana? Right? Like, where's the bid? Now, Bitcoin holds okay, and, you know, the price action is not terrible, but, you know, you've got this, like, you know, you've got a bleed in alts, which is relentless, right? Like anything small, mid caps, just bleeding out. And then there's like no bid and no bounce for the big coins. What's up with that? Now let's go over, for anybody who's new, what I've been saying. First, GameStop is a risk to the entire financial system. There is a large player out there that is so short, the short couldn't be covered unless GameStop went to 1,000, right? In other words, if everybody, including Roaring Kitty, sold at stratospherically higher prices, maybe the short could get covered. Okay? That's a theory, but that's a possibility because something like that would cause all of that individual or that entity's positions to be liquidated. And if there's any type of default on a loan or a loan for the shares, that entity could have to do indiscriminate selling. So there could be a chain reaction. Now, how far am I getting selling that? Not that far, right? Even though there's kind of like this thing going on where it's like GameStop up, crypto down, seems kind of weird. But somebody out there is going to blow up. I know this Roaring Kitty thing is so exciting. Right? It's got that, it really does. It's like one guy said from the movie Troy, a major player on Twitter that says, I lived in the time of Roaring Kitty, from the movie Troy that ends with, I lived in the time of Hector and Achilles. So it's very exciting. But it's also a problem going someplace to happen. And then, guess I have to take a couple more steps down the crazy yellow brick road. Some things are happening with the Russians. And you know what? I actually got news articles to prove it. We'll go through it. But here's the deal. So Russians, Putin, who is a lawyer by trade, right? So if Putin tells you to do something and you do it, he says, okay, let's start over. If Putin tells you not to do something, that he will go nuclear, 2 things, right? And then you do the thing he told you not to do, which is use U.S. weapons to hit targets inside of Russia. So what does Putin do? Well, Putin deploys 3 nuclear missile boats. Everybody in the American media is like, ooh, nuclear powered submarine. People, every submarine is powered with nuclear power. Okay, now what they don't realize is that these submarines and these destroyers are probably filled with hypersonic cruise missiles, some of which could have nuclear warheads. The submarines definitely have nuclear warheads. I mean, the submarines are, planet-destroying machines. And, they decided to sail those yachts 25 miles off the coast of Miami. Like, hi, guys. That's a nice yacht. No, it's not a yacht. That's a nuclear boat. All right, that's like, okay, posturing, Cold War. Pentagon, of course, comes on and says we're not worried about it, which is why I started worrying about it. Then we have these mysterious new sanctions, which I don't have the details on, and the details are not being widely advertised. And then people are caught on Twitter standing in line in Russia, and it made the Financial Times, again, we'll go through it, that there might be a problem with either the ruble or a large bank inside Russia. So let me get this straight. I'm saying that there is a problem in the system. Crypto is like warning, 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 warning of a problem in the system, assuming it's in the American system. Because, I don't know, we got commercial real estate and we got all these problems. I go through them all day on the stream and you get it, right? It's like, if you've been to the grocery store, you know there's a problem. And it's pretty big. And again, I'm sure you know that. This is why we Bitcoin, right? But if crypto, which should be going up, is always going down, then something is wrong somewhere. And someone's going to get liquidated. Now, if it's a bank, that's bad. If it's a bank in a nuclear country, a country with nuclear weapons, that's worse. But if it's their currency or their central bank, right? In other words, if you mess up the currency in Russia, you all of a sudden have massive popular will. And on top of that, Putin comes out and says this morning, and again, I got it in the PowerPoint, and I think I have the news article, that any base in a NATO country that has F-16s that are going to be used to hit the Russians, those bases are targets. So once again, he's telling you, don't launch an F-16 at us, or you got World War III. He'll hit a NATO country, and that involves, what's called Article 5, compelling all nations to go to war against Russia. Meanwhile, the president of the United States, who, being a patriotic person, it's really getting hard to look at. Like, there's supposedly a picture of like Biden just like wandering off at the G7 meeting, having to be brought back in by the Italian prime minister. I mean, who is running the United States? I mean, we got Russian nuclear boats off Florida with like us doing exactly what Putin told us not to do. And the market is down only. Now, you might have some good news over the weekend. Maybe you can get a de-escalation. But until we know, like if you have countries, currencies and countries cracking, right? Like central banks can always come in and do helicopter money, some banks blowing up or some hedge funds blowing up. I mean, that can create a down trade, but that's not the end of the world because the Fed can always come in with, they can just always inject high-powered money into the system. But if you got a currency in another country cracking, or you got, their general populace panicking about a bank run, that's the black swan. A lot of people have talked about this thing where the petrodollar, namely Saudi Arabia, has not renewed an agreement agreeing to sell oil to everyone in dollars. Okay, that's dollar negative. But why is the dollar up? And I'm going to tell you why the dollar's up, folks, because there's a relentless bid from the dollar coming from somewhere because someone other than us knows there's a problem. I mean, if there's a problem inside the entire Russian banking system, in theory, that would create massive demand for dollar. I had an article on the show yesterday that says there are more $100 bills in Russia than there are in the United States. Now, that's because they trade oil, right? That's their primary enterprise. But still, that's what's creating the bid for the dollar. And of course, I will remind you, in general, when the dollar is stronger, it's bearish for risk assets. It is. I mean, the dollar index is at 10 something. It should be at 90 something or 80 something, given what's going on. But it's not, right? And this is this whole thing about Fed and higher rates for longer, blah, 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 blah. This is all a toxic cocktail. Now, again, when things become known, that's when you get a bounce. But I don't know if this has been fully absorbed yet. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. So we have NK is here. Marvin's, welcome. Welcome to the show. Okay. Let's take a look at news. By the way, if you like the new glasses, they're actually not new glasses. They're old glasses. But if you like the glasses, feel free to comment. Okay. So I am not making stuff up. I did a video about this on Twitter last night, lost like 20 followers. People thought I was crazy. Russia halts currency trading as U.S. sanctions sow confusion. Not you can't trade dollars. Not you can't trade dollar and euro denominated things on the Russian exchange. That was a week ago. This is we're not trading currencies at all. This is not good. Russia prepares to strike NATO's F-16s. The Kremlin is prepared to strike NATO airfields that host Ukraine fighter jets for use against Russia. This with the president of the United States incapacitated. Now, to add to the fun, Bidenomics implodes. Consumer sentiment unexpectedly slumps to 7-month low, a massive miss versus what was expected. Okay, so the good news for crypto is that, this brings in lower rates eventually, right? This is demand destruction. Absolute demand destruction. Like you can't shop, you can't go anywhere, you can't buy. It's like the COVID lockdown, right? Really the only thing you can afford to do is buy food and watch Netflix at a certain income bracket. Right? And then you have a wealth destruction event going on in crypto, which, I don't know, frankly, it's just taking money right out of people's pockets. Honestly, you have a capital destruction event going on across every asset, except the big cap tech stocks that everyone's hiding in. All right. Now, let's talk about a guy named Jim Grant so we can get another idea about why the market's going to be going down or has been going down that doesn't agree with what I've been saying. Right? I've been saying rates have to go lower. There's a problem out there and they're going to have to cut suddenly. Okay. Well, a guy named Jim Grant from Grant's Interest Rate Observer, which probably was like one of the original Wall Street newsletters from like the 80s, right? This is when bonds were going crazy. Interest rates were 20%. I mean, I don't know anybody that didn't read Jim Grant. He predicted the bottom in 08. Amazing guy. He must be 90 years old. So he's seen it all and done most of it. And he is basically saying interest rates have to go massively higher to choke off inflation. So if you're an interest rate guy and you looked at an inflation rate that's probably 10%, even though I think it's old news, if you do the math, interest rates have to go higher. Really what has to happen is I'll meet Jim in the middle. You have to bring stocks down. Stocks have to go down to stop wealthy people from indiscriminately spending. As long as people are long the Magnificent Seven and can borrow against those positions, you can't stop people paying $20 a pound for steak. The only way to create a recession and stop demand at the wealthy people levels to bring down stocks. Okay, which probably would not be good for crypto, even though, we've never met a long Bitcoin, short the banks thing that we didn't like. Now, a couple things in the market are making me a little nervous. One is the celebrity coins. I may have a tweet about that somewhere. So when you have absurd excess, like, crypto is in an excess absurdity on meme coins as like quality is going down. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Meanwhile, Wall Street, which, they can be offsides sometimes, right? Bitcoin is exponential gold, says Fidelity's director of global macro, who is a very smart guy, by the way. Very smart guy. I've been following him on LinkedIn for years. Now, of course, that's correct. Bitcoin is this exponential form of new money, gold. This is all correct. I'm sure he's got some incredible math behind it, but are we a little late here? Are we just a wee, teeny weeny bit late on this whole idea of Bitcoin being exponentially higher, right? So they're warming up the retail space for the Bitcoin ETF. Of course they are, right? I mean, they got this product and they want people to get involved because there's nothing else to do outside the Magnificent Seven. Bonds, most stocks down, really. Like the entire stock market is down only except for the 5, 6 big stocks. So what are you going to write about? You're going to write about Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin targets get higher every day, but the reality is something's going on with the price. Like the Ethereum ETF was like this non-event. If you had released an Ethereum ETF at the top of this market, like in December of last year or in January, oh my God, ETH would have gone to 8,000. Now it's like, oh, no bid. No bid. So Wall Street's all like, yay! Where was Wall Street at 16,000 Bitcoin? Where was Wall Street at 33,000 Bitcoin? Where was all this when Bitcoin ETF came out at 48,000? Everyone's like, oh, sell the fact. Okay, now it's at 70, and of course they like it much better. Okay. Equities players are always like, hey, we love to buy high and sell higher. It's a little late, and I don't like that. Wall Street does that sometimes. Okay. Now, back to the world of sanity. I don't blame Fidelity for writing what he's writing because Michael Saylor is like, now I'm going to take it up to 700 million in terms of what I'm going to borrow, and you guys feel free to hit this down to 58K. I'll be down there waiting for you. Right? I mean, it's easy to make fun of Wall Street being late, but there's no making fun of this guy because he had his average price for Bitcoin, I don't know, 50% below market prices, 50% above market prices. So his average was 30 and Bitcoin was at 16 for 6 months. So, you're going to get this guy off his game at this point? No. And these guys who are short Bitcoin miners, I mean, I know there are hedge funds out there and they have their reasons why they hate the Bitcoin miners. Wait until he goes out and buys one. Wait until he does that. Okay. So yeah, tactically, maybe they can lean on the Bitcoin miners if this thing goes down, but you got a bunch of people short the only organic source of Bitcoin. Okay. Let's see how that turns out. What it's like to really trade crypto all day. How to make and lose a fortune. Okay. So let's talk about this. Now's the time to get locked in. Like, for example, we're going to try to go over it, some of the coins. Where are the levels below the market where I would be a buyer? Like, where would you start a DCA process and end one? Right now, if you got to get out of smaller coins, this is not investment advice, but if you got to get out of smaller coins, if stuff has not worked out, if it's got a 1x to get back to your target, then reevaluate. Because you may wind up getting opportunities, right, between now and into the summer. Like, you don't know. Like, when you start bringing in geopolitics and hedge funds blowing up, I can't see this. I mean, I can see down only and I know what it means, but I can't see when the catalyst appears, never mind when it ends. A lot of times it ends after it appears, most times. So what's it like to trade crypto all day? Sometimes maybe you just don't got to trade anything. You just got to like get ready. Like Bitcoin, don't see a point getting rid of that. Ethereum, why? Solana, okay. I mean, if Solana will go to 110 and you would be upset, you make an adjustment. But I mean, when you see some of the Solana news, like it's becoming a payment system, they're trying to get RWA going on Solana. If some sort of liquidation event pushed Solana, I don't know, below 120, I would say that would be like a long-term play. I mean, I am getting this Apple card. I am going to get Solana, here or when it's lower. I'll, show you some of the levels. That's going to be money. So what's it like to trade crypto all day? Be patient. Dial in and be patient. It's hard because, you want to hit the button. You're like, oh, I want to sell. It's down. Or, oh, it's up today. That's the bottom. I'm going to miss out. No. Dial in, raise capital, and wait. That's how you trade crypto in this environment. Okay, so Elon talking up the world. Tesla owners will be able to turn cars into robo-taxis. Monetizing the autonomous fleet is like Airbnb and Uber, clever. So like the Solana phone with airdrops, the Tesla will be able to, you'll be able to go out and monetize your Tesla. And of course, somewhere in here, Elon's going to talk about getting paid in Doge for monetizing your robo taxi. Is GameStop, this is really funny, right? Is GameStop the next Berkshire Hathaway? Here are 3 ways the companies could spend $4 billion. Okay, one thing that nobody has talked about is what happens if GameStop goes out and starts buying crypto gaming projects. Like, you don't have to buy all the tokens. You go to the actual like owners of the project, the founders, and say, we want all your equity in this project, and we want to be able to control, like we're going to take over management of the token. That they go out and start buying Web3. No one has talked about this. And of course, they don't have to do it now. They can just wait for this market to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and then just start buying Web3. If I had $4 billion, that's what I would do. I mean, they could buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, but I don't think that's going to move the market. Plus, I don't think the SEC is going to like that very much. Just that's my opinion, right? In other words, the SEC and the Fed and the Treasury are probably working with these guys going, please sell as much stock as possible. Please sell as much stock as possible because the short cannot be covered. And that is undoubtedly coordinated with the government. That has to be, because they don't want anything to blow up. They're probably going to sell more stock. So, maybe they might buy some Bitcoin, but, they're going to have to invest it. And investing it in Web3 makes sense, and no one is talking about this. Can you imagine this market going down 20% and then having these guys come in and buy $2 billion worth of gaming companies? Oh, my God. Okay, so now we're going hog wild on the political front. Trump floats getting rid of U.S. income taxes. And this is a reminder that whether you like or you don't like Donald Trump, believe it or not, Donald Trump is good for crypto, but he's bad for inflation. Right? He's going to come in and he's going to cut taxes, and he's effectively going to do all kinds of stimulus for corporations and individuals. And realistically, anybody making less than $400,000 a year, that was kind of like Biden's threshold. Anybody making less than 400 or 200, I mean, it depends where you live, really shouldn't be paying taxes. I mean, definitely anybody under 100 should pay no taxes. And the reason is because the government just burns right through it. The government got the money from this year's tax receipts, and it was just gone. It was gone in like a month. What's the point in even collecting it? What's the point in collecting it, right? You got to grow your way out of the economy. So Trump's going to have all these ideas, and, they're going to sound really good like any other politician, and that's fine. But it's not good for inflation, right? You just all of a sudden eliminate everyone's tax bill. Yes, it can help poor people survive, and that, I think, is a really good idea, because what is the government collecting money from poor people for when they're sinking into the ocean? But people, this is not going to bring down the rate of inflation. The only way Trump can do something like that is if there's like an event, and that's the government's stimulus response to an event. But make no mistake about it, like it, don't like it, again, not talking about this on YouTube, Donald Trump is not good for inflation. Okay. GME is picking up. I did a couple GME TikToks, and they got like 15,000 views overnight, which for me is a lot. Okay. Roaring Kitty updated his position. He's exercised 1/3, and he's got 9 million shares. This is the exact number of shares Ryan Cohen initially disclosed when he became involved with GameStop. Okay, so why would Roaring Kitty want more common shares rather than rolling into further out expiry call contracts? Because he's about to join the board of directors with a little bit of profanity laced in. Okay, so this is a public service announcement that they are going to absolutely ram the price of GameStop higher. Okay? I mean, they're just not going to stop. In other words, if I was running GameStop, Roaring Kitty would be on the board. The job of managers is to create shareholder value. University of Texas Business School, or any business school. That's it. Your job as the manager is to do something with the business to make the stock go up, period. So if you can put Roaring Kitty on the board and make the stock go up, he's got 2% of the company, put him on the board. Put him on the board. And it's the greatest marketing stunt I've ever seen. Right? I mean, GameStop has people who work there. They have a CEO. I mean, this is like, oh, wow, we're going to get caught in the biggest liquidation event of all time. I mean, if I was running GameStop, I'd be like, wow, how much money could I raise, work with the Treasury and the Fed that, if GameStop is at 500, that we're selling and raising money all the way up in a way. How incredible would that be? I mean, can you imagine if Roaring Kitty joins the board? You ready for this? Roaring Kitty joins the board, and then GameStop announces a stock buyback. Like when GameStop goes to 100, we're going to say, you know what? We're going to start buying back our own stock. There's nothing prevents them from doing that. Nothing. Okay, yeah. We're going to allocate some money to buy the stock back. I don't know if the Treasury and the Fed are going to be happy about that, but all Roaring Kitty's got to do is float that. All he's got to do is float it. Okay. Okay, Bitcoin can hit 1 million within 10 years, says Bernstein, initiates coverage of MicroStrategy. $3,000 price target. Okay, so again, if Bitcoin is at $1 million, you're dealing with a very strange world. I think the better question is, how can I get positioned in Bitcoin somewhere between 70 and 58? Like, how do I get long Bitcoin and take advantage of whatever this disturbance is, which will come and go like any other disturbance? The thing, again, that bothers me about this is we don't know what it is. Like when crypto, when you know what the disturbance is, like, ooh, this is going to happen, or ooh, watch out for, Middle East war, ooh, watch out for inflation. That lasts like 3 days. But when we don't know what's going on, that can last longer. Okay, so rapper tattoos Solana on his forehead after selling the tokens. Like, I saw this yesterday and I was like, sell everything. Like when you see this kind of stuff, I don't know, man. It's just, to me, like this is one of the first things I've seen that's just actually point blank bearish. And from a sentiment point of view, in other words, hey, the world's melting down, but let's pump and dump celeb coins. It's like, is this crypto adoption? Is this Satoshi's vision? I don't think so. Solana Labs launches Bond, a blockchain digital engagement platforms. Okay. Solana debuts customer loyalty platforms. Okay. TON dethrones Ethereum in terms of active users. Big venture capital firm raises almost $1 billion. ETH ETF should be fully approved by September. So where's the bid? Where's the bid? I mean, it's not like collapsing or anything, but and then here's, a popular figure. So everyone asking me to start a coin, right? Let's see who this is, right? 1 million followers can start Notorious Bill coin. Please no, please don't, right? This type of sentiment and this type of usage of crypto in the middle of a problem, if you want to know why this thing is down only, that could be one of the reasons. Okay, let's welcome anybody who's here. Peter is here. Osario. Brandon's like, dude got a face tat. Incredible. Okay, ME says we both have tinted glasses. Yes, I think tinted glasses are coming back, but the other ones were like this. So I know I like to be a little bit outside the box and off center, but that's not a good look. Okay, I'm going to PowerPoint. Just some stuff we need to go over. Wait, let me just, before I do that, with this market, before I do analysis on anything, I have to check where it is before we do it. Okay. Okay, so nothing bad really going on in GameStop. Okay, I think on a daily chart, using this system, I'm going to relabel this. So it's always tough to figure out what the right time frame is. Right, I got to share screen. It'd be right there. Thank you for that. GME. Okay, here we go. Sharing screen. Okay. Okay, so with GME, the buy signal was actually on this big gap up day, and the stop loss was at 23. Now, it went down there a couple times, but it held. So the next like normal upside targets in GameStop would be 33, and the top one would be at 38, which, you know, was kind of where this like, you know, kind of this doji candle started from. But you do have room. Like if you look at this red band up here, you know, you got room up here to 56. And these yellow lines would indicate the hedge funds below the market. So, you know, they may shake retail out here. I don't know if they're going to attack 23 first, but I do know if this thing turns around, it could go to 33. And if it takes out 33, you got to watch out because, you know, 33 to 38 are the levels. And personally, my opinion is the higher this goes, the worse it is for the financial system. That's just my opinion. Because again, if you're long it, it's great, right? In some ways, I think, you know, being long GameStop, God forbid, but being long GameStop could be the best crypto hedge. Because if GameStop's going to nuke the system, GameStop goes up, everything else could go down. Okay. So, you know, here's the ex-KGB guy who nobody seems to want to take seriously. Any airfields hosting Ukraine F-16 fighter jets, whether they are in or outside the country, will be legitimate targets for Russian military if they participate in combat missions against Moscow forces. That seems pretty clear, don't you think? You know, and the president of the United States is not well. Okay, GameStop. Now here's, I think, some good news if you believe GameStop is like a wrecking ball for crypto. I don't know if it is or not. But this is a 4-hour chart of GameStop, and there's a huge number of DeMark bottoming signals down here. Now, GameStop is not rallying. It's the bottoming signals have not been triggering rallies, you know. But if that ever happened, like if you ever got confirmation that there really was like a bottom in GameStop with like a God candle, you would have this very, very solid bottom in. Okay, GameStop, as we noted, you know, this is the DeMark quantitative moving average system. You know, 30 is resistance, 25 is support. This feels like a bird on a wire getting ready to fly, right? I know it's capped up here by this one, but just keeps riding that moving average, right? And as we've seen before, if you have something consolidating just below resistance, but not falling out of bed, you can have an explosive rally. So if something is resistance, but it doesn't make the market back off, if there's an ensuing breakout, you can get very robust price action. Solana. There's a DeMark bottom in Solana. The 13 equals, you know, it signals that there could be an end of a trend. You do have kind of a puke this morning to support around 143. But where's the bid? Like every time you see green candles like here, and this, it immediately, not only does it fail, but it crashes, right? So, okay, it looks like we're going up, resistance, a crash. Going up, crash. Going up, down, sideways, and then what? Maybe we can just chill out here. I'm guessing that's going to be the case because people are going to get like, you know, ultra super bearish, but I think I've painted a picture that something is going on here and it's not good. And we don't exactly know what it is. All right, let's get over here and just take a look. Let's just take a look at the big coins while simultaneously testing how far I can see on my board with my glasses. Okay, here we go. Sharing screen. Okay, so we have Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart, right? I have 64 based on this new system I'm using. 64 and 61. So if you were going to do a DCA program and try to switch it to Bitcoin, You might do a little at 64 and more at 61. Now, let's go to Solana, which, I kind of think has become like the altcoin proxy. In other words, there's no reason for Solana to be lower. So why is it lower? So Solana crashed and then it couldn't get back above resistance and then it crashed again. And you've got 4 points in Solana that are relevant, right? In other words, you might be able to trade the entire market off this. You have 136 and 126. So, again, this is like a quantitative system. You got to start asking yourself, Solana may have a bid over the weekend, but if it goes to 126, what about my portfolio and should I make an adjustment? That's all. I mean, I can guide you, but only you can answer questions about what kind of pain you could potentially tolerate. Now, if you look at this, if you look at Solana on a daily chart, okay, the possibility of a deeper retracement exists. So the good news is there's really good support at 140. Okay, from, a lot of this volume that was traded here before that last up only rally, right, in May, which I swore that was the start of something big. Okay. So if it's above 140, Solana's okay, and you've got some time to make decisions. Solana's not above 140, then you're looking at 129 or possibly even 110, which, I don't know, it's not the exact location of this wick over here from March that never got tested. Okay. So the new game in TA is figuring out what support points are relevant in case they don't hold. And if they don't hold, what's below the market? Okay. Now, Ethereum, the good news is doesn't look as bad, right? Like support is at 3,100. Personally, I'm not touching anything, right? As you can see, a lot of money flowed into Ethereum prior to June 1st, but the market didn't go anywhere. Then money flow kind of went negative. I mean, some of the heaviest puking, I don't know, may have ended temporarily, but I'm not getting involved in this until I see people go, okay, I want to pay higher price. I'm always saying that. This puts a little bit of quantitative on it. Like, I'm not buying this until I see this market ready to pay higher prices. Solana is a very similar picture. Like this right here is neutral. Nobody's flying in. No one's flying out. Okay, great. Support at 140. Fine. Am I getting back in? Am I jumping into this thing? No. I mean, after consensus, when I got stopped out of the Kennedy meme coin, which then proceeded to just completely crash, I'm going to be honest. Like, I stopped out of my positions and I kind of like moved money out. I just like, okay, I'm doing some undisciplined, bad trading. It wasn't bad trade. It wasn't undisciplined because I had stops in, but I'm not winning. Every time I buy, I lose money. So I'm out. I'm taking a break. And I thought I was an idiot. I thought I was selling the low. And it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I was about to FOMO in right here. My point is, if you got to make hard decisions on the next rally, in other words, my concluding word here is this: beware the failed rally. You might get a relief if somebody displays some common sense or if this starts to affect equities. Because what Putin has done is he set it up to say, we're going to war, and then I'm going to put a peace proposal on the table. So that if something bad happens, it's totally your fault. So hopefully someone is smart enough to take the peace deal, or at least talk about the peace deal and not send jet planes over to attack the Russians in a war everyone has already lost. What a tragedy to have crypto, the future of money, trading like this for a war to benefit weapons manufacturers. Good luck saying that on YouTube. However, the reality is the reality. Adjust risk if you have to, find levels down below, and stay with the quality coins because, 7 months from now, this market's going to be massively higher. As is the case with big rallies that are coming, they frequently can wash everyone out first. Don't be one of those people that gets completely wrecked. Okay, put any questions in the economics chat. I got to go. Thanks for watching.